Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm really excited to have a vlogger on, Oakland's newest vlogger, Gabrielle Pearce. Gabrielle, welcome, and I'll say welcome to Oakland, even though I'm 3,000 miles away, but I can still say welcome to Oakland. How
Thank
you
you for
doing?
having me.
Hey, thank you for being here. Absolutely, and hey, tell my viewers first of all, I'm going to here to tweet this out. How did you? How did you come to live in our great city of Oakland? You know.
Oh, that's a good question. So I'm originally from New Orleans, and I went to LSU, which I don't know if you follow college football as much as you follow the NFL, but
I've,
um,
I interviewed your new coach when he was at Notre Dame at the NFL draft, which I've covered for the last 18 years. All right.
whoa, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't follow I don't follow LSU sports as much as I should, but I definitely appreciated like the culture and the excitement around it while I was there for 5 long years.
What was
But
it like?
then I moved out here right after school to work for Mike Piatok, doing affordable housing architecture at his firm in Oakland, and I've been there ever since, and just loving Oakland. And I didn't I hadn't been here before I came out to interview, and I really fell in love with the city. And um, here I am making up excuses to talk to a lot of people, um, which is like really the heart of what I'm doing with interviews. So
I gotta say, hey Michael, how you doing? I haven't seen Michael in years. Michael and Piatak go back at least to when I was economic advisor to Oakland Mayor Elihu Harris, and that's like that was between 1995 and 1999. And Michael's just always been a cool beans dude, and I hope he's enjoying his retirement. But I haven't talked to him in a long time. Hey, you know what? Maybe you should get Michael on the show. It'd be great to catch up, and that'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, I digress. Uh, how did you discover vlogging? First of all, I want to find out because we talked off camera, if you will. What do you think of Oakland? How did you come to settle in Oakland? Yeah.
I love Oakland. I didn't know much about Oakland before I started researching it for like I feel like affordable housing has a close place in my heart, and so um, I certainly wanted to like pursue working on that here with Mike, like very specifically. And so I came out here to do that. And then, yeah, just like by living here, I was like, oh, why would I ever move? Like, um, why not stay and like really make a home here and try to get to know people and get rooted? So I feel like over the past 5 years, I've gotten a chance to do that. It's been really wonderful.
What's the difference between your expectations and the reality so far? Are you by the lake? I'm in Adams Point. I'm on um I'll explain since I'm that kind of guy, how you want to handle it's up to you. But I'm on Palm Avenue off Euclid. Uh, and in the short time that I've been gone since the last Saturday of November of 2019, it just seems like mainly because of the pandemic, things have just like whack changed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in East Lake, so also by the lake, on 3rd Avenue. So really close to the lake, and I feel like it's a real. I feel really lucky to be here and just like be able to walk around and talk to folks and um, yeah, have that proximity to the lake. Not that I like run or do anything that people use the lake for, but I like to hang out and I like to talk to folks. And that was like a thing that I did for this project was like tabling at the lake, which
Yeah. See, this is her masterpiece right here, folks.
oh
Boom.
no.
Town interviews.
I thought you
Yeah.
were going to show my sign, my crazy girl sign that I had at the lake, but yeah, this is
Oh, I could have done that. I didn't.
no, it's fine. It's like literally a poster board. It's actually on my refrigerator because I don't have the heart to throw it away yet.
Oh,
Um,
wait a second. Let me zoom in on that, and then
oh no. It just says taking questions for Oakland mayoral candidates, which is like one of the amenities of living in Eastlake is there's a Dollar Tree right there. And so we went over to the Dollar Tree and got some flowers and a poster board and made a sign and took a folding table out to the lake and started trying to engage with people and see what their concerns were and their hopes were for Oakland through the next mayor, and got a lot of responses that way. So
What are
they
you?
just my lake.
If I look down, it's because I'm actually tweeting. I'm putting this on social media as we talk.
Oh yeah,
so
go ahead.
I'm putting this on Lake Neighbors on Facebook, just as you say that. So what have you learned about what people are thinking?
Oh gosh, a lot. I talked to about 70 people, and I started at the lake, and then I started doing different parts of the lake, like tabling at different parts of the lake, and hearing very different responses based on where I was around the lake. And I was like, whoa, there's something to this. It's very like there are kind of microclimates of concern in Oakland, and the importance of like getting out and going different places. And so I was by the lake, and then I was at West Oakland Farmers Market. I was at Temescal Farmers Market, Lake Merritt Farmers Market, the Laurel, some parks in Deep East Oakland, and just really trying to talk with people in different districts and gauge their feelings about like what the leaders in City Hall could do for them. And there were ranges of trust and ranges of frustration and ranges of like hope. Some people just don't have a lot of hope in the leadership in local politics. And so I, as like a bright-eyed bushy-tailed person, understand that I have like a certain demeanor about local politics and a certain excitement about it. And I feel like there's definitely an opportunity in electing a mayor who you believe in.
This is on Lake Neighbors, like right now. Yeah. Hey, David Compton, one of our investors. Hey, Gabrielle, welcome to our lovely city of Oakland. Much success to you. Dave, she's a great new vlogger that I'd love to have do some blogging for us one day. You know, I could entice her appropriately from a distance.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never got to answer your question, but it was really great to talk to a lot of different people and people. I made a spreadsheet, which is nerdy, but felt at one point it's like I'm talking to so many people and I want to do them justice. And so like keeping tabs on what words came up a lot and what themes there were. So yeah, a lot of concerns about public safety. Mostly was kind of at the forefront of most people's minds, and then also homelessness, of course, was a big topic. So
were you able to break them down by demographics as much as you could, like, you know, young, old, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, and so on, or did you find?
I didn't factor that into my notes that I was recording, but I tried to be intentional about like, okay, I'm talking to a lot of people who look like me today. Like, how do I switch that up? Like, so I tried to be intentional about it, but I'm very curious, Zennie, from you, how you factor all these things in. And it's like overnight, I kind of went from like, yeah, I'm just this random person doing this random thing because I'm curious about it and I want to like do something of service to people. And then it's like, well, how do I think about these huge topics of like censorship and representation and all of these kind of like hairy issues? And I wonder how you approach that. And
my first, well, I advise you or anybody else, and it's a very good question because, oh, what the hell? It really kind of takes us into kind of a history of vlogging, if you will, because the question is, how did I discover this whole thing? And what happened was that I worked for LU for from 95 to 2000. Well, from 1999. From 1999 to 2001, I started the Oakland County Sports Commission. And then I became interested in the internet and tech, which is brand new. So I built my first website and then became obsessed with kind of what was happening. And I mean, let's face it, the Bay Area is the natural place to be to have that kind of curiosity, right? And so what happened was that by 2000, well, Jerry Brown fired me because I accused him of being racist during the whole Super Bowl issue. I wrote an email that, probably I shouldn't have written, but I should have, because he fired me because of that, which is actually against the law. And Oakland City Attorney John Russo is my friend of this day, basically said, "Hey, look, you file a lawsuit against us," and I didn't. Anyway, the NFL had said, "Hey, Zennie, if there's anything we do for you, let us know." And so, to make a long story short, I was always into the NFL draft, and I started going to the Raider headquarters. I created Oakland's first blog, Oakland Focus, and that was in late 2003 when it was on something called Pyra Labs, and then Blogger bought it later. Excuse me, Blogger was bought by Google in 2007. Same year they bought YouTube. But I started that, and then as a blogger, the reason I started is I was mad at Jerry, and people were telling me all kinds of stuff that was going on, and I was just putting it out there, much to his chagrin, and it was getting out there. And so that was, now at that point there was no YouTube, okay. But I'd also started Sports Business Simulations, where you make online simulations of sports organizations for use in the classroom about a game I made called the Oakland Baseball Sim World. You can run the business of the A's. And I thought, I wasn't getting enough traffic to it. And I thought, how do I solve this problem? And at 1:30 in the morning, I came up with the idea for myself of using blogs.
Yeah, how are you doing this if there was no YouTube? Were you embedding videos in a website?
At the time, there wasn't then. It was just blogs. You were literally writing text, right?
Oh, got it.
Yeah. So I was quite literally riding the technology wave as it was coming in, because I was online to begin with, building, and going back to when I started building system dynamics models. System dynamics is a modeling paradigm. Is created by Jay Forrester at MIT in 1956, and I became an expert in that and worked for the Prevention Research Center. But then the idea of making we now call software service devices online was brand new, and I wanted to find somebody who was building system dynamics models for that kind of application online. And I met on a lark through forums Michael Bean of Foreo Business Simulation, Foreo in San Francisco. We had lunch at the Royal Exchange, one of my favorite cow bar, and I started using his system, so I created Sports Business Simulations. But I wasn't getting enough traffic. We had a couple of colleges using it. We had USF and one other, and I was just crying like a baby. And so I just discovered blogging, and I became obsessed with blogging. And then in the emerging political scene for me at that time was literally opening up at that time. And
like locally or nationally?
Nationally and locally. It was very easy to write something that went national real quick then.
Wow.
And because there weren't as many people doing it, and yet everybody was curious about what was going on online, right?
That's really cool.
Yeah. And so then I discovered YouTube late 2005, but I didn't really start my channel until 2006. And my first YouTube video, before YouTube, I was on something called Blip TV. And Blip TV was started by Dina Kaplan and Mike Hudak. And I was uploading videos there in 2005. The reason was that Blip TV's what's called codec for how its videos are processed was light years better than the flash base that YouTube had at the time. YouTube was just freaking blurry. But if you wanted to make your videos go viral, YouTube was the place to be, okay? And so what happened was that I started, because I was just obsessed with gathering all this online technology, and I was trying to explore ways to bring the videos I had into, you know, SBS to bring more traffic in to get people to use the games. And that started working slowly. But what happened, and what really took off, where things really took off, was that same year, 2006. Elihu, my late boss, but still friend, and also on my advisory board of sports business simulations, had invited me. I was always meeting him with him monthly in his office at the chancellor's office. He was the chancellor, and I was showing him then the new videos that I was doing and the interviews. And you know, there were some videos I like to show, some of them because you put the tape in and maybe the sound didn't match up with the I still have videos where, you know, you can see that to this day, is that they're old videos, right? But he said, "Hey, I want you to talk to someone." And I remember he pressed this button, and Jeffrey Heyman came in. Jeffrey was the head of Peralta TV. And unbeknownst to me, he was invited to VloggerCon. And I wanted to go to VloggerCon. It was the first West Coast vlogger convention ever. And he got invited. It was $600 to go. I didn't have that kind of money. He said,
how many people were there?
300. And so he said, "You want to go with us and work at our table?" I said, "Heck yeah." So that's how I got in. And Gabrielle, some of the most, as it turns out, influential people in our lives were right there in that room. There was Andrew Michael Barron and Amanda Congdon, who had created Rocket Boom, but they got this whole wave of national publicity, which turned into kind of an argument that they had regarding a relationship they thought that they had, but she thought it was more, you know, the thing, sexual misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
That got played out. That was actually the first of its kind to get played out nationally like that. Unfortunately, but those are two good people. But they were at Rocket Boom. They were at not right. They were at VloggerCon. And then there was a guy who was slightly overweight with a huge nose, big glasses, and big hair, talking about something called voice over IP. And I'm like, what the heck is that? But I was learning from him. And if you've ever heard of Vonage, the phone company.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Well, the founder of Vonage is the guy that I'm talking about. His name is Jeff Pulver. Same guy. He hadn't done it then, but he was on his way to doing that. That was voice over IP. He was one of the pioneers of it. Then there was another guy that I met who had created something called the People Aggregator. And he and I became fast friends because I thought he had money to invest in my company, and he thought that I had money to invest in his company. So we both went to McCovey's in Walnut Creek, which is no longer there, and we spent the better part of 30 minutes figuring out that neither one of us had any money. His name is Mark Cantor, and Mark Cantor is on my advisory board to this day, and he's created something called Intuit. No, not Intuit, but Instigate AI, which is a really neat kind of slamming together a PowerPoint. I think I lost her there, but we have, I think her device got disconnected or something like that. Oh, here she comes back. Add to stream. There she is. Gabrielle?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, stuff happens. And I think we're waiting for a camera to come back to life. Yes. And the camera is pushing and storing and pushing and pushing, and this will give me a good chance to say that I'll clip my story so I can hear more of hers. I got to figure out a short-winded way to tell my story. Gabrielle, you there?
I'm here. My camera's not here.
Oh.
Sting.
Your camera's mad at me, probably. Camera's saying, "I wish he would shut up."
No.
It's was it a battery issue or was it?
No, I think my camera just went out and came back.
Oh, what kind of camera are you using?
It's a Logitech one. It's like an external one.
Oh, I know Logitech's good. Yeah, I heard
Yeah.
it's yeah. Here we sometimes that happens. I'm trying to remember what when I went through this, what I was going through when that happened to me.
I'm gonna try it.
Let's see here. I think what she's probably gonna have to do. Sometimes
Did it
it's
have to leave and come back?
not yet. Sometimes it's a RAM issue. Do you have any other files or devices open? Because what I try to do is make sure my computer is clean. You know, I've got nothing else open. Because sometimes the RAM will kick up real quick, and next thing you know, all kinds of weird stuff starts happening.
My camera's working. It's just not letting me show it here. I don't know why. Maybe I should I leave and come back? Is that an option?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Restart. I'm not going anywhere. Restart and come on.
Close out and click on the link. Will it work?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think it's a RAM issue, and you might. And 9 times out of 10, that's something to do with it.
All right. Cool. I'll see you in 1 second. Thanks, Zennie. Bye.
We're here. Yeah. So anyway, but anyway, what Gabrielle's done is we're going to talk more about this. She's interviewed a bunch of the mayoral candidates, and while she's coming back, I'll show you what she's done here. Neat logo, neat photograph of the lake. She's interviewed John Riemann, Peter Liu, Seneca Scott, as you can see here, Kyron Jordan, and Greg Hodge, Treva Reed, Alyssa Victory, as well. And I want to find out. Let's see if you click on play all here. There's Greg, right? She's got
and what neighborhood you live in?
Greg.
Sure. My name is Greg Hodge.
And it's a great way to get to know people, right?
Historic part of Oakland.
And so.
And what made you decide to run for mayor?
That's open.
I'm running for mayor because I love the city.
Here. And I'm glad she's done this. It really is a cool thing. And she's interviewed, let's see, 7 of the 11 candidates. 7 of the 11 candidates. And I also like to find out if she reached out to others and maybe they didn't interview her and that sort of thing, you know. So anyway, waiting for her to come back. Oh, here she comes. Yeah. Hey, I think, yep. See, as I told you, yep.
I'm back. Are you showing them around?
Yeah, see, it worked. Ta-da. RAM.
Awesome. Thanks for your patience. It wasn't using my Logitech one. I was using my computer one. I won't go on about the technology issues, but thanks for waiting for me.
Oh, yeah, sure. So anyway, to close out that's how I discovered vlogging was there. And it was a heady place to be. And we had some of the greatest people and most effective people and culturally I've ever met in our lives. And it was heady. And I just started. And so that happened. And then, so I started vlogging like nobody's business, but I wasn't doing what you do. I was interviewing some people here and there, but what I was doing was going through what I call different waves of vlogging, from pointing the camera at something. I did a lot of pointing it at me. And there was a lot of what I say. For example, the top vlogger then was a guy named Renato. And Renato would do things like take his camera, go all the way up to his house, and he would film down, and he would talk about that, or he would talk about race issues with other people. And so we get together, we have these YouTube meetups, like we had one at Pier 39, it was just kick butt. And people from around the world came to the YouTube meetup, and in San Francisco, we had 2 of them. Really heady stuff. And a lot of people were doing interesting things. And we had people doing comedy on. Unbeknownst to me, LA comedians were discovering YouTube then. And so Lisa Nova got together with a guy who became her boyfriend, and they started what became Maker Studios, and they sold out to that for $500 million to Disney. All right. So there's a lot of really heady, great stuff going on there. And
what were they making?
I'm sorry?
What were they making?
Comedy videos. Videos that to me, I as a news type, I didn't take seriously as going anywhere.
Yeah.
But what I loved about what was happening then is that people were using vlogs to do what we do now with conversing, right? And and there was this feeling that we were onto something. We have another vlog called Vlogger Heads. That's a site that still exists today. Oh, thank you, Auburn. Thank you for the 10 pound there, very much. And and uh, and so it was, and so what happened was that YouTube invited me to be uh, on the CNN YouTube Democratic debates. And so Joe Biden, our president, actually answered my question, and that gave me some national fame. And then CNN had me on as a guest on Paula Zahn, which then became Roland Martin debates. So they flew me to New York twice. They flew me to Atlanta. My mom would move down there because they were all just discovering vlogs and vlogging, and I was one of the people that was doing it on a regular basis and known for political vlogs. And so even though vlogs really didn't take off in Oakland per se, they did in San Francisco, but they were also taking off different parts of the country. But anyway, to answer your question, I think in a nutshell, that's how I got my start. But Steve Grove was the person who discovered me. Steve was then the news and politics editor for YouTube, and they had watched my stuff, and they invited me to become a YouTube partner. That's how I became a YouTube partner, and I'm still a partner to this day, which means I make money from my videos. And the pay of the past has been really like as much as almost $4,000 a month, and on the videos alone. It's been incredible. It's YouTube. I wrote a book called YouTube Changed My Life, and it really did. YouTube gave me a life that that on top of the fact that I grew up flying on United Airlines because my mom worked for United, I've seen the world in a way that few other people have seen. And it's just been a fantastic ride that continues. It really does. But I didn't use it all the time. I do have a lot of videos where I talk to people, but I just sort of, to be honest with you, it wasn't strategic. I didn't have a piece of paper. I wasn't sorting out. I was using my videos to talk to people, but also to talk, right? To share what I was seeing, to take the little thing that happened and make it big. It didn't matter if it was somebody I was talking to made an interesting observation. David Compton matches it, another 10 pound. Thank you, David. Oh, wow. This is like, Gabrielle, I got a feeling really this is because of you. Thanks. But I really just had fun letting her rip with vlogging. And I think, and that's really how I got my start. But in terms of walking around and asking people, like what you're doing, I did that on a national basis when I was doing stuff with CNN, but also on my channel, but also I was CNN iReporter. And I was on the iReport before CNN bought it. And I was on everything. I was on something called 6 Seconds TV, which is 6-second video, 12 Seconds TV. I was on the advisory board of an Israeli-based company called Vidoka, where we have 45-second vlogs, right? So, I mean, now I've got my own company based around all.
You said you weren't being strategic back in the day. You were just like wanting to hear others' voices and voice yourself on the internet. But what would you say your strategy is now?
Well, I was going to say, though, there's one proviso. My strategy was to make money because YouTube had invited me to be a partner.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was really what it was. And then I became on City Brights. I was on City Brights, which is San Francisco Chronicle's version of blogging. And I remember I took John Diaz, the editorial page editor, for dinner at Olivetto's, which unfortunately has since closed. And John says, well, this is great. We can't pay you, And I said, would you mind if I stick a little code up here? And that code was my YouTube playlist of videos, which would play on a regular basis and auto update. And that was pulling in $3,000 a month for me alone. And so I had discovered that but I was getting death threats because there are people who didn't like a black guy on the Chronicle website. And so they would harass me. And so EOB Benjamin said, put this code up and we're going to find your attacker. And I did. And to make a long story short, I discovered that, hey, if I put a blog up, I can actually, my video changed in terms of search by the title. But because I was doing it for the Chronicle, I was actually bumping out of the way the New York Post and the LA Times in terms of top position in Google News. And they were getting pissed. It was a game. I was just like picking them off. Boom, boom, boom. And I made one video, got seen 2 million views that 1 month. That was about Susan Boyle on Britain's Got Talent. And I didn't know that was going anywhere. It went, okay. And that pulled in a ton of money for me. So basically it was always money. You know, it really was. Let me get some of the comments here because they're coming in fast and furious. And I want to make sure that I'm honoring my people. He said that. Welcome. I would like you to learn how to blog with my son. Thank you. Thank you for bringing attention to Gabrielle's project. Do you know these folks?
I do know one of them, not the other.
In the photograph?
Yeah.
Oh, which one? The guy with doing this?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's the other side of this project is my partner James Vaughn, who does the video.
His name is James Bond?
Vaughn with a V.
Vaughn. Oh, James Vaughn, like Jim Vaughn, Black James Vaughn housing? No.
No, he's from Auburn, and so yeah, James does the videography, and so we're kind of partnered up on this effort.
Vaughn, like VONN, like Lindsey Vaughn.
VAUGHAN.
Oh, Vaughn, I get it. I got it. He went to Auburn?
He's not the Auburn you and I are used to as Southerners. There's an Auburn in Northern California.
Auburn, right. Into that one. Right. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, so Gabrielle comes with the groupies already. So see, that's where it starts.
Shout out to James's dad, Mark Vaughn, holding it down, posting in the picture. So thanks for the support.
He said, "This is a great service to you. You're doing a great service to the community." And he says, "I understand you rated all the candidates." Yeah, and that's what I wanted to get. Thank you. This means that part of this money goes to you. So anyway, and he said, "What's Gabrielle's next move?" Let's not get there yet, because I want to find out. I want to get to the meat of our discussion. I want to get to the stuff that matters the most. All right, let's go back to this. This is what inquiring minds want to know. First of all, how did you come to contact the candidates?
No way special. I had to dig deep for some of their emails on the internet, and then I emailed them. Cold email. Way to go.
All right. And did anybody decline, or it was just a matter of getting your wires crossed, or what happened?
There are 3 that I either haven't heard back from or I'm still trying to schedule it with.
Yeah. So let me guess: Lauren, Taylor, Shang, Tal, and Ignacio De La Fuente, right?
Yeah. You've studied up.
I'll get them for you. I know I can get 2 of them for you. I don't know about the other one. The other one is Shang's probably mad at me because I'm mad at her, so that's okay.
Happens.
But I'll do my best. I will do my best. So what do you think as an Oakland voter? You're an Oakland voter now? You registered?
Yeah. I was like at the DMV the night before the last mayoral election trying to get my California license so I could vote. So yeah, I've only been here for 5 years though, so I've only experienced the Libby Schaff era of Oakland. So
yeah, Libby's my god sister.
Sorry?
She's my god sister.
Really?
Yeah.
Libby Schaff. How'd that come to be?
That came to be 32 years ago. I met her parents first, Bob and Barbara. I have to call. I met them at Oakland Sharing the Vision, or as my friend, well, a longtime friend, Phil Tagami used to call it Oakland Sharing the Ham Sandwich. And it was a 500-person gathering at the Oakland Downtown Convention Center that was held late, if my memory serves, it was October 11th, 1991. And it was an idea to get, first of all, Oakland Sharing the Vision was a nonprofit that was established to get Oaklanders together to basically form a plan about the future. That was the idea. And so it was a full day brainstorming session, because brainstorming was a thing then. You put ideas on paper and wrote them down. But David Glover, that's how I met Phil, actually. David Glover brought Phil over to me. He says, "You two brothers, you need to meet. You all had the same path." And David Glover was the late David Glover, rest in peace, was the executive director of the Oakland Citizens Committee for Urban Renewal. And I met Bob and Barbara there, but then I ran into them at what we used to call the Golden Bear, which is now called Room 389 on Grand Avenue.
Yeah.
And we met on Earth Day. And Libby walked in, and that's how I met Libby. She was supposed to meet her parents at the Golden Bear. And so we became fast friends, and they got me involved in, among other things, in 1993, something called Oakland Cares. So if you know about Oakland Promise is really the latest version of Oakland Cares, something that Libby and her mom wanted to do back then in terms of helping, frankly speaking, young Black kids go to college, but also getting care to people who were at least able to afford it. That was the idea with a nonprofit. And I went there, tried to meet a wife through that, didn't happen. But and Libby's and her folks had these great kick-ass Christmas parties. Ignacio came there, Elihu, anybody, John Davies, all kinds of folks. And it was, then we take the ride of the Lake Merritt gondola. I don't know if you've done that yet, but they used to do Christmas. We used to take that and do Christmas caroling around that. And then we go to the alley, which is, I'm a regular at the alley to this day. Right. And Christmas carols. And in fact, I became such an alley regular that they had the mistletoe up there, and one of them in my name. So that, not the mistletoe, but the sock, right? And so, stockings, yeah. And that's how we all met. And her parents sort of, in a way, adopted me. And I did, her stepfather, Bob Schock, is one of the state's top personal injury lawyers. And so I did a little show around for him back then in 2007. And we get together and we talk about cases and that sort of all that. So that's how we met. And I remember saying to Libby, this was March 14th of 2009. I said to Libby that she should run for mayor of Oakland. And she thought it was a good idea, but she ran for council instead. And we did precinct walking for her. And all this stuff is on my YouTube channel to this day.
I've seen a little bit of it.
Oh, cool. And and then she ran for mayor, and she won. She got Jerry Brown's endorsement, and that really changed everything. And she won, and that became the Libby era. Although I think she changed from the Made in Oakland Libby to something I think that was a bit more. I just have to say, this is where I take my friend's cap off and I take my other cap and put it on. Unfortunate, and I think Libby got lost with the wrong people. Okay, because the way she started out, the Made in Oakland focus, all of us went to Skyline High, thousands of friends. That was in a sense cast aside over time, and I think the city is worse for it, because when we had everybody together, it was beautiful. It was beautiful to go to a place, and we're all friends of Libby. We had bloggers for Libby. We had all this, right? It was some cool stuff, or in my case, vlogger. Cool stuff. I even actually have a video of that too. A lot of videos, like 21,000. But it was really cool to have her run initially, but I think some of the pressures of the job of being the first white woman, and I think there's a factor there, um, and in dealing with certain sexism that comes with it. You know, her being described as a cheerleader, which I always thought was sexist because I never thought of her that way. To be honest, just it makes me angry. But then it makes me angry when she didn't say, "Hey, Zennie, you know this stuff better than me. I want you to handle Howard Terminal and dig this thing out of the morass because I can do it." So that's an anger that will stay with me for some time. Although I love her to death and she knows it. They're family. These folks are family to me. Um, um, sorry. So that's just the way it is. Oakland's a small town. It's a big city. It's actually bigger than San Francisco, but it's a very small town of people, you know, that try to do right by each other. And I think that's the best thing I can say about Oakland. Um, the worst thing I can say about Oakland, unfortunately, is we've forgotten how to govern it. Not that you asked. To that, I ask you, who are you going to vote for?
Oh my gosh. I was unprepared for that question. Who am I not going to vote for? There are 5. I have to vote for 5 people. I've made the choice early on, as I made the choice to interview everyone, all 10 candidates. I made the choice to not endorse anyone, which I think is important for my project as it is. I think it makes sense for you to endorse a candidate as your media company works.
Funny you said that, because I started off doing it that way.
Really?
Yeah. But over time, people ask you, like Nancy Nadell asked me to endorse her for District 3 council member. That was back in, I think, 2000, I want to say 2007 or 2008, somewhere in there. But I would wait till the very last minute to do it for the same reasons. The reason why I changed this time was because Oakland becomes so messed up that I don't feel like even the way that I do things is helping things to get better. I just felt like I needed to be more aggressive, more shot calling, as it were, and more truly an influencer rather than someone who practices what I call fake objectivity. And I say that because we all have a value structure, you know? There's no such thing as objectivity in anything. There's no such thing as objective journalism. The minute you decide to cover something that that presents your value structure. Now, someone might say, well, hey, my job was to do that, but it was your idea to take that job, right? So
Yeah.
I don't like when people hide behind that. I like the open fight, if you will.
I hear you.
And I can't. It bothers me that Oakland is in the condition that it's in. It's not supposed to be in this condition.
Yeah.
It makes me cry. And so that's why I changed and became more, I guess you'd say, activist.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I think that's a good point, though, that it's hard to, it's like an unrealistic objectivity. And I came into this project thinking like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this very not controversial thing of interviewing all, hopefully, of the candidates for mayor. But even the opinion that an Oakland mayor has, should be a thing that I spend my time covering is contentious. And the idea that a mayor can change things rubbed people the wrong way in some cases. So it's definitely taking the position that the mayor of the city, the next mayor of the city specifically, has a lot of control over potential change in this place is definitely my opinion, and I'm excited to see that change.
This is a good question. What has the project taught Gabrielle about Oakland? Good question.
There's some small scale things and some large scale things. I think it's taught me that Oaklanders are pretty friendly people, and they're willing to talk to a random girl who asks them questions about their feelings about their city, which can get kind of intimate, you know? I learned that people want to see more policing and more trained police and more homegrown police in Oakland, at least a lot of the people I talk to, in a way that I'm definitely in my bubble of I'm a 20-something young, like, white woman, and I run in a very progressive circle. And there are thoughts and there are algorithms that teach me what Oakland thinks that is not necessarily true about what deep East Oakland thinks. And it's just very informative to, like, get out there, to go to a park, to ask a person that I wouldn't normally talk to, and make that excuse to, like, to really try to gauge how people are feeling about things, even if it's not how I think they're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, yeah, I've learned, I think, a lot about how the messy complexity of how Oakland feels about police was a big part of this process.
The messy complexity. I like that one. Was there, in talking to anyone, okay, I got to ask you, first of all, let me, I think, what did you think? Because of all your people you talked to, he got the most views.
Can you tell us which neighborhood? I think there's a lot of shareability. James and I were talking about this. And yeah, I think the shareability of this video is strong. Like, a lot of people are going to watch this video and share it with someone they know. Yeah. Honestly, though, I must say, in talking to Peter Liu, he was one of to me, like, in how he treated me, he was one of the kindest candidates to just, like, talk with personally. Are you frozen, Zennie? He's frozen in a smile. Or I'm frozen. Hard to know. It looks like it might be me now running the show. Oh gosh. Let's see. How likely is Mr. Liu's method going to end poverty? That's a tough question, Auburn Medical Group. I'm unsure how to answer that.
Sorry about that. As you were talking on my end, the internet went down. Just for a second, it's a hiccup. So anyway, as I was saying, let me bring Peter back, because I was joking that it's funny when I bring Peter up, crap happens. So let me you just talk about Peter, because I have a feeling if I show him again, some gremlin will come.
No, I mean, there's a lot you could say about Peter. I don't agree with a lot of his plans of action as he answered them. However,
see that?
Getting lots of good Peter questions. Say what you want about Peter, think what you want about Peter, vote how you want about Peter. He was kind to me as a human to a human. I have trouble with some of the messages he puts forth and how it hurts many communities in Oakland, and I have to say that. But yeah, that's about all my Peter thoughts.
Peter and I consider Peter now a friend. And yeah, and I'll explain that arc. At first, back in 2014 when he ran, I thought, like most people, he was ridiculous. He came out with logo that had a gun for an L and all that. And he talked about some things that were raucous that wound him, that got him on, not him per se, but it got him mentioned on Jimmy Kimmel, nationally.
I dug into all that.
Yeah. And so what happened this time was that I think he has a friendship with Derek Sue. And Derek is one of my bloggers, but I invited him to be a vlogger. He was running for Oakland mayor. Derek's a sweet guy. And I had them all on at once. And I thought I made this decision that I was just going to talk to anybody. And I realized that there are actually two Peters. And I think Peter does a lot of what he does. Unfortunately for antagonism, I think some of it's for money, because I believe there are people out there who pay to have this sort of thing done. And it's happened a lot in society, and it shouldn't. But he's a guy who has two beautiful kids. Actually, he's on my video. And a wife who's very much concerned about her husband's mental health. And he's a full-rounded human being. And when he says things like, he and I had originally said when he started popping off like that, I tried to get him arrested, because you don't want to be in a situation where he does something rash and you weren't the person to at least call those people, raise the flag and say, hey, this is going on. This has got to,
especially if you have a relationship with someone.
Yeah. And I called him and I said, man, what the blank is wrong with you? I believe, and then what he would do, Gabrielle, is he would send me these emails that were rather nasty, not toward me, but racially. Okay. And I was very worried about Derek Sue. And Peter would do this after he took all of us. All right. And this is what he did. Did you see our video? We all went to dinner. They went to dinner, the mayoral candidates. All right. Peter paid for that. That was Peter's idea, and, but I was worried about Derek Sue, and I would say, hey, I'm worried about Derek. And I would type this, and he would respond in a different way, which told me there was something else going on. He wasn't like hardened to the point where he was unreasonable. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear you. There are two Peter Lou's.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So whatever's really going on with Peter psychologically is something above my pay grade, the Lord. But I don't think it's good at all. And, so anyway, Auburn says, which candidate is proposing better broadband service? None of them. I mean, None.
We need an 11th candidate. Is it too late? Yes.
Yeah. Here's my thought. I mean, I want to know your thoughts about this as a new Oaklander.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to see your candidate do?
I am going to steal an answer from one of the people that I talked to. There was one person that I talked with in all my kind of canvassing around, and he said he wanted to see a person who could come in and acknowledge kind of the new Oakland and the old Oakland, where Oakland was and where Oakland is going, and craft a vision that we can all get behind and that serves everyone, which is a huge statement, but I think kind of summed up what is really needed, and kind of that thing would get at our economic issues, would get at Howard Terminal, would get at policing and crime and homelessness, and really it is a matter of balancing our economy and the wealth gap, and really prioritizing getting at that. I think that's what I want to see.
Color Me Oakland says, how about saving people already here and acknowledgement of gentrification?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Hey, Color Me Oakland, welcome. How you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. There are two candidates, in my opinion, that fit that bill better. One is I'm backing Ignacio, because even though I have a lot of reasons not to, it's those same reasons that led me to, and that you said doesn't make any sense. a lot of people who might have issues with Ignacio, they're personal issues because he may not have been on the same side of an issue as they were. But as I told them, and goes back some months now, I said, you're forgetting something. You and I were always reacting to Ignacio. He was always out there doing something. Now, my specific issue, well, okay, let's take Elihu. Elihu was the mayor. I was his economic advisor. This was 1996, 7. There was the matter of the UMax deal to put the name UMax in the Coliseum. The Raiders had not signed off on it. I was at the Coliseum for a meeting that never came about. Amy Trask didn't like the idea. She was a Raiders CEO at the time, still a good friend of mine. And Ignacio was going to jump the gun while Elihu was in China. And I told Ignacio to stay away. I'm going to do what I got to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take care of this. I said,
That's an awesome Ignacio impression. Yeah. Oh my
God. And so I said, Ignacio, please, man, don't. And I remember in my office, I had an office at the 11th floor corner, City Hall. And so he, basically we hung up the phone on each other. And I called Phil Mateer, or Mateer and Ross, which was then, because then newspapers mattered. And now they really don't. There's no papers anymore. And which might be a good thing. But anyway, I told Phil to run a story about what he was doing and about how he was trying to go over the mayor's head and act like he was the mayor of Oakland. And Phil ran it. It made Ignacio look bad. And then when I was trying to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland, Ignacio and Jerry Brown were having meetings with Oakland CEOs behind my back about my sponsorship proposal, which the head of global sponsorships for Visa, Mike Lynch, said, hey, this will work. Told me that on a plane back from New York. They didn't understand sports sponsorships, neither Jerry nor Ignacio, and yet they're going to have meetings about my project without me being there? No. Just stuff like that, okay? But see, at the end of the day, the question is, these are like internecine things, all right? It had nothing to do with one fact. He was always at the forefront of making sure something got done. And he and Louis Cohen, who is his chief of staff, were virtuoso. They were, Gabrielle, the best at civic legislation. They could get something through council like that. They knew rules that I hadn't even heard of. They were really good. So if you let Ignacio in the door to fix things, I'm telling you, he's going to get them fixed. He does not play. He first noted that when the Raiders deal went belly up, in a sense, basically we had to cough up that money from the city and the county because we got $56.8 million of the PSLs. We were supposed to sell 83 million of them. We never hit that target. And so, hey, Ignacio said, hey, look, let's reform the JPA, make it a public body, a truly public body, the answers to the people, rather than this club where the city administrator and the city, the county manager or county administrator meet along with one member of the Oakland City Council and one member of the Alameda County Board of Supervisors. Went way beyond that. And the late Ezra Rapport, rest in peace, as he died 2 weeks ago. He was my first boss. Drew up the enabling legislation for it, which still has not ever been completely 100% used. We've never had 20 members of the business community on it, and that's a travesty. All right. But in any rate, that was Ignacio. If Ignacio says he's going to do something, it gets done. So if Ignacio's mayor, he will straighten this crap out. He does not play. He has a focus and an intent. And, as far as I'm concerned, that's who I'm backing. I think that Oakland, we never had a Latino mayor. I think it was past time. That's just me, you know.
I hear that. What do you, and I should know more about Ignacio. I would study up on him. I need to study up on him because I have to vote, you know. But I haven't interviewed him, so I don't know his answers to my questions. And I wouldn't ask him about this as part of my kind of like run of questions, but I got to ask you, what's the deal with I should know more about this, the coal allegations of him receiving money from coal.
Well, I'm going to say this about that. I'm going to start off with this. Oakland side has no business taking political positions and claiming it's a nonprofit. That is against the law. It is against the law for a nonprofit news publication to do what it has done. Write targeted pieces about Black candidates because they got arrested, or in Derek Johnson's case, he said he was successful. They said he's not successful. Oakland side wrote this and says, hey, he's not successful because he filed for bankruptcy. Excuse me, Donald Trump filed for bankruptcy not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 freaking times. Excuse me. You want to try for 5, and let's try for 6, okay? And yet, Oakland side wrote that. If you look at nonprofit law, that is a good way to start paying, to have fines slapped on you as a nonprofit trying to steer elections and steer attitudes and take down certain candidates and using their Blackness against them. And they've done that. Darren Bon Graham has a record going all the way back to 2012 writing negative stuff about Black male candidates.
Wait, are we talking about the same thing? I'm asking about Ignacio.
Yeah, I'm talking about the same thing. Most notably, Barack Obama, okay? So my point is, I say all that before I'm about to say this about the coal issue, because that's where it's been publicized. They have no business doing that. None. Okay? Now, let me get you the real skinny about this whole thing. As the person who was at the Oakland Sharing the Vision event, where the Oakland, was then called the bulk terminal, it is now called the Oakland Bulk and Oversized Terminal, was voted the #1 economic development priority for Oakland. This was in 1991, Gabrielle. Okay? Why? Because the 1986 Seaport Plan identified that Oakland needed a deep water port to handle multiple commodities. That was the idea. That's always been the idea. We talked about it. People came along like my mentor, the late Richard Winnie, who was later county council, who died in 2006. Miss Richard like nobody's business, okay? Only one person, when it came up to the question of replacing the closed West Oakland Army base. Why? Because during the Clinton administration, we went through a dramatic downsizing of the military. I was on the base closure and realignment committee, thanks to the Alameda County Supervisor Keith Carson in 1993. And so all of this led to Phil, who had this idea in his mind to do the bulk terminal, because all the other proposals to replace the Army base didn't meet the #1 objective. How do you create low-skill, well-paying jobs to replace those that were there? And the fear was if we didn't, we were going to have homelessness, because the governor, the guy who became governor, Jerry Brown, was talking about killing redevelopment. Okay. And then later eventually did do that in 2011. Prior to that murder of redevelopment that Jerry Brown did, Oakland had an affordable housing budget that went up to over $100 million a year by 2008. And was at $111 million a year by that year, 2011. Jerry killed it and started that embarkment. And so the idea for the Oakland Bulk and Oversized Terminal was to do that. And every city council member in Oakland who signed the 2013 due diligence and development agreement knew coal was going to be one of the commodities that were hauled. How do I know? I have the document and I have the signature. That's how I know. Betsy Lake, who is a chief administrative officer to this day, was the person who also signed off on it as a consultant to guess who? California Capital ran by who? Phil Tagami. You getting the picture?
Sort of. I have ADHD, so I get
I didn't know that.
Seeing the thread a little bit, but yeah, is this going back to
yeah, so that's how Cole
okay.
Right. Cole came involved, and I'm glad you said this, so I'll make it really simple. Cole came involved because Tom Steyer came along, spent almost $500 million of his own money to inform people about coal and turn around legislation to stop it. But Tom was a coal investor himself. He was trying to literally grab the world and change it to invest in clean energy and clean fuels. And he did that starting in late 2000, really in 2014. And were it not for his spending for the Sunflower Association, for a number of nonprofits, the focus on Oakland and coal would never have happened. Okay. Now, does that mean that what Phil was doing is a bad thing? No. Here's why. Because prior to Tom Steyer, Phil had said to anybody who would not listen that he wanted an environmentally friendly project. And he wasn't the only person to say that. I have here an interview that I did 10 years ago with Fred Blackwell when he was the head of redevelopment, who called the Oakland bulk and oversized terminal, quote, a gift to the environmental community, unquote. Okay. That was also going to call iron ore. That should, for anybody who knows the stuff, should have big letters. Why? Because iron ore is 7 times dirtier than coal. But no one talked about that because Tom threw all this money at coal, and he was seeding and lining the pockets of Oakland politicians along the way, along with California elected officials. Guess what happened? The Oakland coal ban, even though it was illegal, even though it's actually against the free flow, if you look at it on its face, it's against the free flow of commerce. So you would say, Zennie, you're for dirtying up. No, I'm not. I am for what we have done at every step of the way in our industry. Use technology to reduce emissions. We got these Luddites out here who've forgotten about technology. They don't want to hear about technology. They want to tell you what to do. They just want to have things in that way, and that's it. And it's really hurt us in a lot of different ways in this city. Okay. But here's the good news. It's supposed to be multi-commodity. If the city were really interested in, not hauling coal, it could have paid Oakland bulk and oversized terminal not to handle it. The only reason anybody is talking about handling coal is because money. In fact, today I can show you 6 different emails I got telling me that I need to invest in coal. From activists? No. From right-wingers? No. From market watchers. From stock sellers. Because coal is at the highest it's ever been in its entire history right now. Why? Because of what Putin is doing to Ukraine over there, and because of what the pandemic did to the worldwide economy. Those 2 combined forces have caused coal demand to shoot up sky high. No one talks about that, and you're starting to look. That's the dirty little secret right now. It ain't a secret no more. That's where we're at. So at some point, it's going to become a national security issue. This is my prediction of getting coal out of Utah and into the market. It's going to become a national security issue, and I predict it's going to happen within the next year and a half. That's where we're at right now.
I think it is a huge economic driver in Oakland that people aren't talking about, and something that I am excited to learn about, need to know more about. And I wonder, I do think it's strange that of all of the candidates, it seems to be an issue that's linked specifically with Ignacio, and I don't.
It is. Here's why. It's linked to Ignacio because there's a political action committee of people who have helped fund the effort to build the Oakland bulk and oversized terminal. That's why. And they've helped Ignacio. That's where that's coming from. And so, and that's it. And so you have, but see again, you have news that's driving this. You have to remember something. News that's driving this is nonprofit, and they don't tell us where they get their money from to publish this stuff. They ain't doing it for free.
I honestly didn't learn about it from the Oakland side. I learned about it from John Ryman's Facebook page.
Yeah, John's on my show. Yeah, John is John's a great guy who hates me. I love John.
I mean, same.
I think John is awesome.
It's hard to get on the good side of John Ryman, but I appreciate.
I'm not on his good side right now, but I'm not on John's good side right now, but it's for a good reason. And the reason is that I think that the next mayor should be a socialist, but he's not doing it in a way that's going to get him elected.
Yeah.
You know?
I see that.
But plus, I just like arguing. So but I think John's a wonderful man. I really do.
I like productive arguing, and I can't find a way to argue productively with John, or I haven't yet.
You have to try. He's a good man, you know. He fights the good. He fights the good fight. I mean, he really does. What do you think of Seneca Scott? He's my number 2, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed talking with Seneca Scott, and I really enjoyed. We were able to meet with him in his garden and to see. I mean, lots of people say lots of things about issues that they don't have their hands in, and I feel like Seneca Scott, you can kind of like see his values in the space that he has physically made in that garden in West Oakland in a way that I think is really successful. Yeah, that's kind of my main thought about Seneca Scott.
Yeah, I made Seneca my number 2 because again, it's a matter of having a different voice. And also watching him out there, because he and I started off on the wrong foot when he was running for council. And I think through a very frank conversation, now we're like brothers. And yeah, it was just a misunderstanding. I think part of it, to be honest, has to do with the fact that, you know, Seneca's actually legally deaf, and you know, and that can cause some misunderstandings if one isn't careful. And that was certainly the case with me. But we got over it. It was a matter of scheduling, and that was when he was running for council. But what I like about Seneca, I'll say is what I love about Seneca, is his willingness to be a corporate heretic. And we need a heretic. We need somebody who is willing to be in the system, but not of it, and pointing out his flaws and maladies along the way. And I think he's that person. He is that person. It's not a matter of I think he is that person. Just
that's a very specific phrase, corporate heretic. Where's the corporate side coming from?
Because you're running for mayor, and you're running to run the corporation that is the city of Oakland.
Yeah.
And yet that corporation has its own ways and styles and moves that if you don't follow them, you become a heretic. And he's not going to follow them. And he's already not following them. And he's brash. He likes to pick fights, I think, sometimes in a way inartfully. There's a strategy there. He is mischaracterized about 1/5 of the time. For example, he is not transphobic, but there are people who put that out there, and including my lovable friend Cat Brooks, who I completely love, who I'm sorry didn't become mayor before. But unfortunately, Cat has a tendency to go ad hominem at times. It's like, you know. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
I got Twitter a month ago. I don't follow a lot of what people are saying about each other, and intentionally
good.
So. But yeah, I really I appreciate Seneca.
Yeah. And then Alyssa Victory is my number 3.
Elisa, yeah. I loved talking to her, and then we talked for a long time after her interview. It's interesting to see some people like really make time talk with you as a person. Some people don't know that I'm not like paid to do this. Like they think I'm just like another interview, another like person with a camera, and it's like, yeah, I'm just a girl. Like I'm a voter, and I really need to get this information out to my friends. But Elisa took a lot of time to like talk to me and explain things to me, about government that I didn't understand. And I think the idea of having any leader who is willing to make politics comprehensible to the public is like vastly overlooked as a quality of leadership that we need to see. So I think Elisa really did that. Treva really did that. Treva Reed took a lot of time to just talk with me as a person and explain things to me, explain herself to me. And I really appreciated that in those two women.
Yeah, she's a wonderful person. Treva, it really is. I love her father to death, even though her father sometimes gets mad at me about, so he's mad at me now. Because Larry got me the job with Elihu. Larry Reed is why I wound up working for Elihu. And I remember when it happened. This was March 14th of 1994. I was columnist with the Montclair, my first news job, which happened on a lark. And I was invited to a fundraiser for Wellington Webb, who was the mayor of Denver, but I was there as a columnist. And I had just written that Elihu was going to hire Michael Baines to build Old Oakland housing. And Elihu didn't want that out there. So when he saw me, instead of saying, "Hello, Zennie," he said, "Why'd you write that column? Why'd you write that column? Why'd you write?" That's Elihu was like that in those days. And so I thought it was like, you can see people crowding around, right? It was like being in school and suddenly find yourself in a fight you didn't want to be in. So I thought, well, look, you know what? If I hit him, it's a felony. If he hits me, I'll just let him hit me. I don't care. That was what I was thinking. And everything died down.
Like verbally?
No, hit me like boom. I thought he was going to hit me. He was yelling his butt off, man. It's like, oh, you can yell up a blue streak, right? I'm not going to curse because it's my channel, right? But and so I'm walking through the mansion, Bob's mansion, and I ran into Larry. And Larry said, two prominent African American men shouldn't be arguing like this. And I said, Larry, I didn't do anything. I didn't say he wrote and he did anything bad. You see, Elihu was under the impression that I was implying that what he did by saying he wanted a developer was illegal. But in point of fact, it wasn't. There were then, probably now more, 6 items of case law that backed his right as elected official to say, I want Gabrielle as my developer. Elected official can do that. He didn't know. Okay. So anyway, when we met, I said, hey, I'm looking for a job. I'd love to work for you. And a few months later, he came up with the idea of me being his economic advisor. And so I got hired December 17th of 1995. And he said, I want you to, my master's in city planning. And he said, and I want you to have everything from redevelopment to the Raiders. That was my scope. And that opened up the door for everything. That's how I met, I wound up helping the Raiders. Alo Casal took me to lunch, or I took him to lunch at Luigi's. You ever been to Luigi's in Alameda?
No, I should go. All right.
You got to go. Oh, historic place. Okay. Went to Luigi's in Alameda, and I remember this was, so it feels like February 20th of 1996. We were having lunch, and Mr. Locosal says, there's a guy that the problem is that the Raiders needed help in reviving the Fort Editor preseason game. So actually this is and so Al says, there's a guy that I want you to talk to. He's executive vice president for football operations. They're grooming him to be commissioner. His name is Roger Goodell. That's how I met Roger. And first time I talked to Roger, We talked for an hour about his father, Charles Goodell, who was the only Republican to vote against the Vietnam War. He was in Congress. And that's how my NFL life began.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about how your NFL life began and about how your blogging life began. We didn't talk about how your local politics life began. Did that start with working advising Elihu Harris as the mayor, or was it an interest in Elihu as a leader, or an interest in like city government?
Oh, the Montclair job got me that. What happened was, it's a very good question. My interest in politics really started when I got my job in 1986 as intern with the Oakland Redevelopment Agency. I started in 87, not 80. I'm sorry, 86 is what I meant, but I started in 87 out of grad school at Cal. Part of what was then and now is called the Berkeley Mafia, which I think Michael Piatok knows something about. And so to make a long story short, Ezra, my actual boss was Jeff Chu and Austin Penny, but Ezra Poor was the assistant city manager. He reached down through 3 layers of bureaucracy to give me an assignment. If you've ever been to Emeryville, have you ever been to the Best Buy over there? Well, that's there because of me. I wrote a memo at the behest of Ezra, estimating the tax increment revenue for a combination of big box retail, office, hotel, and submitted that increment throw off estimate for a meeting we were supposed to have with EB Mud, because EB Mud wanted to put a wet weather storage facility at that place. Now you would say, why would you as an Oakland representative be meeting with Emeryville? Well, it's a good question, because there was a little quirk before redevelopment was killed in the boundaries, where our Oakland redevelopment West Oakland boundary went right into Emeryville's boundary. It was an overlap. So we had to figure out, we had never really broached the subject of how to deal with the tax revenue split. We just left it alone. That's been settled years ago now. But my contribution, that was my first job. That was the first thing that I did. To make another long story short, Ezra, rest in peace, God love his soul, asked me to do something regarding hiding revenue figures that I believe was unethical. I refused to do it. They rehired me as a consultant, where I lasted for 6 months. And then I left, started my own economic development consulting firm. And my first job was with the Oakland Redevelopment Agency, the Emeryville Redevelopment Agency, under the then new development director, Kofi Bonner, who was my classmate at Cal, and who is now working for Dan Gilbert in Bedrock in Cleveland, the same Dan Gilbert who owns the Cleveland basketball team, the Cleveland, come on, Zennie, Cavaliers, the Cleveland Cavaliers basketball team, and went on from there. So it was really that, and then also when Keith Carson and Dexter Roberson, his chief of staff, asked me to represent them on the Alameda Base Reuse Committee during the whole base closure realignment commission activity. So that was my introduction to politics. But what happened was that Corby Engineering representatives on that same committee were acting in a way that I felt was unethical, and I wanted to write about it. And so Molly Igri, who also worked for Keith Carson, I haven't talked to in a few years, had said, hey, you should write a column. And I said, oh, how does that work? My background is not in journalism, okay? And she says, well, write a query letter to the Tribune. Pearl Stewart was the editor then, but don't stop there. Write one to the Montclarian, where Chris Treadway, who's since passed away, was also the editor. The Tribune said no. In fact, Pearl Stewart made it her effort to duck me. She saw me coming on Grand Avenue down the street, not necessarily toward her, just, okay. And she ducked into a consignment store to avoid me. She was headed there. She was like, ah. And so, And so she said no, but Chris Treadway said yes. And that became 3 years of coolness. And among other things, according to Monty Poole, I broke the story that the Raiders are coming back from LA, among other things. That is how I got involved. That sort of laid the groundwork. And so what happened was that laid the groundwork for the argument that I had with Elihu, which then led to getting hired in that way. But it also turns out that, you know, that's where it happened. I mean, you put yourself out there, and sometimes weird things happen. I put myself out there, you know. And so people have questions for you. Let's see here. Mark Vaughn says, does Gabrielle see a future in public office for herself?
Oh, not really. I interned for the city of New Orleans, and that was a really great experience. But I don't necessarily see that as like I don't know that I would be a public servant in that way. But if I were to work for a city, I would work as a public servant, probably not as much as an elected or appointed official.
Yeah, what? Tell us the mug.
Oh, this was made by
Well, that's cool.
Leanne Vaughn. She has a really cool, like it's very shiny, but yeah, it's really great. It's I'd show you the bottom, but there's still tea in it. It was made by Leanne Vaughn, who has an Instagram, which I'll give you the name of in a second. But James Vaughn, the videographer of the project, it's his mom. So.
Aw. Aw.
But she is on Instagram as Purple Pansy Pottery.
Purple? Let me say purple again.
Purple _ pansy, PANSY _ pottery.
Purple pansy pottery. Say that 3 times through Pat. Say that. I got tongue tied just thinking about it. Like that. Oh.
Yeah, like that.
But like that. Purple pansy pottery. I love it.
Check it out.
Hey, so I saw the interviews with the mayors, but I didn't see the other people. Did I miss something?
No, this project started like a month ago to do mayoral interviews, and I think moving forward, I mean, we're not going to elect another mayor for another 4 years, and so and it won't be as exciting because there will be an incumbent, whereas now it's just like nobody knows anything about 10 whole people that it seems important to cover. So I think people have talked about interviewing unhoused people, homeless people, and I think that could be a cool next step. I don't know, it would be a nice opportunity now that there's a platform and now that there are like followers, you know, who are following a project, and it's called Town Interviews. And so, yeah, just thinking of other people in Oakland to interview who people could gain insight from. But if anybody has other thoughts, let me know.
No, I think.
Who do you think I should interview next?
I think you should interview people, business people. Well, let me make it. I tell you who you should interview. You should interview my friend Jackie Simpkins of the Alley.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Jackie is a wonderful person, one of my best friends. Is the custodian of an incredible place that has a lot of Oakland history. I've been an Alley regular since 1997. It's just a magical place.
Really. I need to go more. Maybe I'll see you. But yeah, that sounds interesting. Like interviewing local business owners. I've thought about that. I've thought about the idea of. Go ahead.
Okay, and then Copes, old school Copes, is my friend Jim Copes. He's got these T-shirts that around Oakland. He's at Lake Merritt. I think it's. I hope he is. Hope he's still is okay. I have to check in with people that get that point in life, but he's got Brooklyn. He has the first Brooklyn sweatshirt, as in Brooklyn, as in Oakland. And he's a fantastic fellow, very sweet man. And then, of course, Alan Michon, my longtime friend, owns the Grand Lake. Have you been to Grand Lake yet?
I saw, of course, I saw one of your vloggers interview, I think. Was it the owner of Grand Lake?
Big Beard?
Yeah.
Or Richard Hake? Yeah, Richard Hake. It's because either there are only two people who interviewed him, either Richard or me. Because Richard is
it wasn't you.
Yeah, Richard's the only person. Well, it's not only. Richard's the first person to really get my style of vlogging. And so he started vlogging on my channel about 2017, I think, 2018, 2018, about the A's. He would go to these A's meetings when the A's were considering building at building at Laney College. Yeah, Laney College, early 2018. But Richard got my style of vlogging. And so he still lets her rip, you know. She says, interview Jerry Brown regarding the current gubernatorial race. Yeah, if you can get him. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I
don't know. That's kind of bigger politics than local politics.
She interviewed Phil. Interview Phil Tagami. Interview Phil.
Who's that?
Phil Tagami is, you're asking me about coal and everything.
You mentioned him, but...
Say again?
I know you mentioned him, but what is his role?
Phil, oh my Lord, you don't know who Phil is. Phil is the developer of the Oakland Rotunda.
Oh, neat. I love the Rotunda.
That was Phil's first project, of which I played a role in helping him get. Because Phil was being ignored by Worshwire Housing in Oakland. I started working for Elihu, and Phil brought to me a sheet of phone calls that he had made to Worshwire, 96 of them, none of them returned. So I told Phil to get together all the studies that had been done on the Rotunda, because we had spent up to that point $7 million on the Rotunda through 4 different developers, all of them outside developers. Nothing ever happened. We were wasting money. And Phil had become known as an adaptive reuse real estate expert, was looking for his first development shot, her shot at being a developer. And so Phil took a certain calculus. He would always say to me, Zennie, how's your relationship with this? That was always his thing, okay? And then he would say, you have to prove you have the credibility, certainty, and capacity to do a job, okay? We've known each other for about as long as I've known Libby, all right? And Phil, he's also Skyline. He's Skyline 1983. That's the other thing we all have in common. Libby's Skyline 83, Phil's Skyline 83, I'm Skyline 80. All right. Tom Hanks is 74. All right. You ever watch FX Network?
Mm-hmm. Or I know what it is. I don't know that I've watched it.
John Landgraf, for a long time chairman of FX until last 2 years, he's working for Disney. Class of 80. John pissed me off because he got all the girls. It's true. Big beard dude. John Landgraf is a major player, beyond major player in the entertainment industry. All those folks, people that I've been very blessed to know. Phil's one of them. We all came from Skyline. Phil, Libby, a bunch of other people, all wonderful people. You know, we even had, I remember Tom and his boyfriend went to our prom at Skyline. Nobody cared. That was 1980. Okay. 1980. No one cared. That's the way it should be. That's Oakland.
I forget how rooted you are in Oakland. So what I should ask you, you asked me, what do you want to see? What is your vision for Oakland, or what do you want to see in the next leader?
I want to see us. I want Oakland, and I will tell you very pointedly something I've been at for 7 years. I want Oakland to use enhanced infrastructure financing district legislation to unlock the multi-billion dollars that we're literally sitting on, and then enact programs to get that money to the Oaklanders who need it the most. That is our most pressing problem. I've been at this for 7 years. Enhanced infrastructure financing district legislation. First, SB 628 bill, which was signed into law by Jerry in 2015. Only one person has listened to me on this. Do you know who that was? I'll tell you. Dave Cavell. April 4th, phone call meeting between he and I when he first became president of the Athletics, sort of getting to know you, but I had some ideas about how he should finance the stadium. So I told him, I said, look, you're not going to get your stadium built unless you build affordable housing. It ain't happening. And he said, well, I can't use public money. I said, yes, you can. SB 628 bill. He took my suggestion that was April 4th of 2017 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and created with Nancy Skinner and Libby and Rob Bonta SB 293 Skinner, which was signed into law by Gavin Newsom, my longtime friend from 1998 in the Balboa Cafe, which you must go to in San Francisco. Okay? Great place. Anyway, Gavin signed
Balboa Park?
Say again?
Is it in the Balboa Park neighborhood?
No, it's in Marina District, so Fillmore and Greenwich. Yeah, Balboa Cafe. Anyway.
I like to ask people when I interview them at the end, I don't know if you noticed, I like to ask people if there's a restaurant locally that they recommend, just because I think John Ryman got really flustered by me asking that as an idea that like it perpetuates the idea of celebrity in politics and local politics. And I should have thought that it might come across that way. I don't really care that it does though to some, but I think the idea of like getting local businesses some more business is always a good idea. So
you know what? Everybody's a celebrity as I look at it. But to answer your question, my favorite place to eat, the Alley. The Alley has the best steaks in Oakland. At least they did. Yeah, they did when Stan was the cook there. I think he's since left for other places. I haven't been back, in a little bit, but I loved having steaks at the Alley. Loved the baked potato. It was just outstanding. It got to a point where the portions were small and all that, but yeah. The other place that I really enjoy is I like Duende downtown. I know Paul. I've interviewed Paul. I owe Paul another interview. I understand he's got a new place, a French place in the hotel up the street there. I haven't been to. Yeah, have you been there? It's brand new. The new one that opened up off 30th and Broadway, just before you get to 30th and Broadway over there. That's I
don't get that far up usually, but I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Monday person?
Yeah. Oh God, what was it? And so anyway, there have also been places that have opened, and there have been a lot of places that have closed. Like for example, I love Luca's and their burgers. This is closed. That really pisses me off.
But did you know that what is it called? Oh no. Near Fruitvale, the bar, the really good bar. There's Guadalajara and there's the really good.
Huh.
Hold on. They serve Luca's food now.
Oh, really?
The chef from Luca's.
Well, if you want a little history of Luca's, just go to Zennie62 and type Luca's. Yeah.
It's called the Aloha Club, the bar.
Is it?
Yeah, they're serving.
Say that again. Say that again.
The Aloha Club in Fruitvale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they have the chef. They're hosting the chef from there. But...
Oh, Miss Saigon.
Miss Saigon. Is that in Little Saigon?
No. It's up the street from the Alley, just 2 doors. It's past what used to be called Smitty's, right next door. Andy is the manager there, owner manager, great guy. Even have a video about that. Yeah, Miss Saigon. Miss Saigon is another favorite place of mine. I haven't I haven't. Gosh, making me teary eyed here.
Okay, I'll throw in some places. Have you been to Lena's in East
Uh,
Oakland?
I have not. I have not, because I haven't gotten to East Oakland in some time. When I was there, see, I've been going in and out, literally back and forth, just for my mom, and then every place else, right?
Yeah. Well, when you have some time, because it's a wine place, and I go on Sundays, and there are a lot of folks coming out of church, and it's really a sweet atmosphere in there, and you can tell like it's a lot of family working, but it's such good soul food, and it reminds me of home.
And then I have to see. I'm trying to get this. Hold on. There it is. All right. Miss Saigon. There. Trying to find the one that I did way back. Oh, here. Yeah. This is the one that I did way back with Libby when Miss Saigon was downtown Oakland. If they're not still there, in 2013. And let me see if I can pull this up real quick, because I know that it's getting late for you. This is there.
It's getting for you, isn't it?
Well, it is. Wait, that's Libby and I were talking. This was when she was council member. Okay.
Police spending.
But this is where we were at. We were at Miss Saigon.
Miss Saigon. I like this idea of meeting.
So long, I don't know why I'm being that way, right? Talk to me about the budget. Are you satisfied with the outcome?
I am. Budgets always involve compromise.
That's
Yeah, I think it's a nice idea meeting with someone in a local restaurant. Maybe I'll have to steal that from you, Zennie.
Yeah, this is one way to do it. Yeah, and like I said, I love Libby to death, and always wish her the best. So and her parents have been fantastic to me and all that. So but Miss Saigon, just oh my Lord, I love that. I've got this one from Miss Saigon. What else do I have? I've got more history here. If I have to look back in my Miss Saigon history. Just outstanding. The food there is just there, and then next to that one's downtown next to in City Hall Plaza at the time. I don't think it's there, but the one that exists right now is on Grand Avenue. Love that place. And it's a Star Pizza, of course. Star Pizza.
The Star.
Yes, yes. It hasn't closed. Thank you, Lord. Oh, I love the Star. Yeah. I love that deep dish. The
best thing about living by the lake is you go to the Star and then you go to the lake with your pizza. But then everybody who walks by is like, "Can I get a slice?"
Yeah.
And then you're like,
"Oh, it's great
and
stuff."
then I go with my generous friends and they're just like handing out slices of pizza. So it's kind of fun.
Have you been to the new restaurant across the way from it though? Is it A5 or unless they closed? Oh, that closed, I think, didn't it? I heard that it closed. I did a video there, but they used to have they had good burger, and I don't think they lasted that long. Oh well, yeah. And then there's this wine bar across the way, isn't there? Is it still there? Still going?
I think so. Legionnaire? Is that
Yeah. That was a cool little place. Yeah. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Zennie. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you got to come back. And like I said, love to have you as one of our vloggers. You can do it anytime you want to or not. But if you ever saw something and said, I want everybody to see it, it would get seen, and then you can promote this channel as well. So I know you said you want to keep it small, but I'm going to keep offering it to you until you say yeah or leave me alone.
Well, I told you, but I kind of like this little operation of just me and James for now, and just grab the tripod and go. So
you're not using your smartphone?
No. Honestly, if James wouldn't have opted into this situation, I would be just a girl in her iPhone, too young to be making these videos.
No, you're not too young.
No, I'm not too young. I think my iPhone is many generations
What kind do
too
you have?
little to be. I don't remember. It's like an 6 or something.
That's pretty old.
We get into the teens to be worth making interviews of.
But you know, they give iPhone 12s for free now. So this is iPhone 13. Okay. But I started using this some time ago. And it's yeah, I started using this some time ago, and we started our this system that I built. Really, it was Morgan's fault. It was my friend Morgan Bach she was in Gaza Strip for Gaza protest, and she was on my channel, and she made a live stream that's what's a minute and 47 seconds. But if you it went from being a video blog to blog automatically within seconds. And if you type Gaza protest after that, her live stream was #1 in Google News under Gaza protest for 8 hours. And that was the birth of this system. So yeah. But no, it's something that you should really, if you're going to do this, don't do it halfway. Do it. I mean, because we don't have, and the reason why I say it like that is because regardless of how you do it, we don't have enough people in Oakland who do it. And yet there are a lot of people who need to tell their stories. And now they'll use Instagram or something else. But like, for example, here in the South, YouTube is really popular to use for a lot of people. And so I've been to YouTube meetups here. YouTube user base here is so large that YouTube sends its personnel down here to have meetings, or used to, because I've been there. Whereas in the Bay Area, not so much. That's kind of weird to me. But at any rate, Oakland, with so many stories to tell, that's why I built my media company the way that I did. And that's why I'm looking for vloggers. So even if you don't want to vlog, get me somebody else who does. I need Oakland vloggers. I've got Richard, and I had the pastor, and I need more Oakland vloggers. We've got.
I'll try to listen for people who want to do that, but I don't consider myself a vlogger.
No, you're a vlogger.
Okay.
You're a vlogger. You're a vlogger now. I mean, you are. I mean, I understand where you are at is, and I think the reason why you would say that is you're not talking. You're not doing pure form video blogging. Like Grant. In other words, you're not using it to state an opinion, but right now you are. Okay, you're doing that, and that is video blogging. What you're doing is what I call it first order blogging. You're pointing the camera, or vlogging. You're pointing the camera at somebody else or something else, but you're not pointing it at yourself. So the next step in
I have no desire to be in front of the camera. I really think it is a project, and my desire to put information out there is to have as little of me in there as possible. And I see what you're saying though, of everything has bias in it, and what I produce and what I share has my bias in it, but I'm comfortable with that amount of bias. I'm comfortable with sharing the stories of unhoused people because I think their stories are important and not being heard. So yeah, I think
let me ask you a question. What are you afraid of?
Birds. What do you mean?
Yeah, what are you afraid of when you that would say, I don't want to vlog? You said birds. That's interesting.
That's like a fear that I have. I'm not afraid of anything. I just have I want to be of service to people. I don't have a desire for people to know me in any way.
But here's the thing. It's not so much a matter of a desire for people to know you or not. I would encourage you to change your thinking toward a desire to impart information for other people who don't have the time to gather that information, or who are hoping and praying for somebody to say that thing that they didn't know how to say or get out. And what I'm saying is that the difference between being an effective vlogger and not is this close. It's taking the action, because most people don't take that action. Now here's the good news. That's changed dramatically since I started doing it. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when I started doing it, you couldn't get anybody in front of the camera. Now, piece of cake, because it's part of our culture, because of what people like me have done over the years, right? It's a piece of cake. But there's also generational change. And in Oakland in particular, we don't have enough people telling their stories. And I think what's happening maybe with you and with other people that watch me, I don't know, is they're encouraged to at least try it. Some people were encouraged because they think they can do it better than I can, thinking that I have a strategy that, I'm not doing right. Someone actually told me that once, and that's fine. Actually, who told me that was a guy out here in Atlanta who would always say,
you get told that a lot. I get told that a lot. I have 80 followers, and like people are and there might also be a thing of being a woman, and people feel the need to give me advice and tell me to change what I'm doing a lot. But if I'm getting a lot of unwanted feedback, I'm sure you're getting a lot of feedback as a person with more people watching you. Are you not?
I get that all the time. That's part of that's part of the territory. I have gotten all kinds of things. I mean, that I'm used to that. You are a celebrity when you step into this realm, because of the fact that people communicate or they take their information with this now. 80% of my viewers are from smartphones and tablets, mostly smartphones. Okay. I mean, I can go here to a Home Depot here in Fayette County, Georgia, and I'm recognized because someone happened to see my video about the Home Depot. And that's why search engine optimization is so important, because you can literally make yourself popular and known and go nowhere. But if you make videos, and that's the key, people will say, well, gee, you're not even here. You don't have to be there. You have to understand this is the internet. It can take you places. If you understand how to use the right meta tags and SEO, you can be anywhere in the world you choose to be. That's the fun part about it. If I decided tomorrow I wanted to focus on Morocco, I could do it. I don't know anything about Morocco. New York, right? Oh, see, I didn't. Tell me about Morocco. What? See, that was random.
I said, but you could. Like, you could.
Yeah. Somebody, that's the beauty. That's what makes it so fun. And what I discovered, this goes way back to even before YouTube, the Rise Business Network. There was a commonality of Black men in industry, startups, tech. This was 2000. Wow. I want to say 2002. Okay. One of the people on that was a guy named Mark Benioff. Wasn't Black. Was starting something called Salesforce. Who knew? We used to communicate with him. Now he's like way big. Okay. But that's what's fun. The fun part about this, and I think the book that I need to write is being there at the start. Being at the Twitter launch party, being at TechCrunch Disrupt, being at TechCrunch The Crunchies, accidentally stepping on Mark Zuckerberg's foot, befriending his sister. Haven't talked to in a few years. A lot of water under the bridge. A lot. I should go to bed.
Thanks for staying up late.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's 12:31 a.m. Now, 50% of the money that comes from this is going to you, okay? That's my rule.
I don't need.
I'm not asking if you need it or
Not
not.
trying to make money.
That's not, hey, it's not negotiable. That's the way I roll. Okay. That is a classic thing that I've done for years because I mean, look, these guys wouldn't have been here were it not for you, some of them, and they wouldn't one of them wouldn't have contributed were it not for you. So why not? You know, take it and go buy yourself a Star Pizza in my honor.
Maybe I'll get a new lapel mic.
Yeah. We got to do this again though. This is fun.
Yeah,
What do
thanks for making time.
You got it.
Tell your mom I said hi.
You got it. I got to go down and check on her because my poor mother needs. I love my mother more than love itself. So I'm blessed to have her here.
That's awesome.
Hey, stick around in the background, folks. Stick around in the background, Gabrielle. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the questions, the contributions. Subscribe to Zennie62, but also make sure you subscribe to Town Interviews. Yeah. And help her get to 1,000 subscribers so she can be a YouTube partner and she can brand her channel, right? So here you go. In her name there. All right. Town Interviews. All right.
Town Interviews.
Yes. Don't go